I'm here today to show you how to make these super cute little roses and ruffles. You can use them on blankets, but I've also recently, spoiler alert, made a new sock design and I just love the cuff. They kind of remind me of cookies. I think it looks like icing. But yeah, I'm super happy with those. So I'll show you how we make these little ruffles. First up, I've made a foundation, so this isn't specific. My patterns or other patterns will give you the exact number of stitches you need, but for the purpose of this video I've just made a small foundation ready to begin. I'm starting with the background colour and I'm going to build up my foundation for the ruffles. So it's actually like a post behind the stitches. I've not weaved in the ends on this yet, but you can see these posts here, or if I show you a little bit, you can see it on here as well. So we're going to build those sections. So I'll start with, because I'm making fairly large ruffles, these have got 5 double crochets on them, I'm going to make double crochet posts, but you can make your ruffles smaller, i.e. you would need to make a smaller post and then of course adjust your stitch. So a single crochet would make tiny little ripples, half double crochet makes these little ones, and then double crochets these ones. So for this video I'm going to be making the double crochet ruffles. So we'll start with the chain 3. This will count as a double crochet, then we'll chain a 1, skip 1 stitch, and then a double crochet into the next, chain 1, skip 1 stitch, double crochet into the next, chain 1, skip that stitch, double crochet into the next. You'll see we're creating these little chain 1 spaces. It's a bit like a lattice stitch, so it gives that square. So we'll do this again, we'll chain 1, skip 1, double crochet into the next. And you can see what I mean, these create these little posts. So you'll complete that to the end. So we've created all these little posts and now we'll continue up just building our foundation. So when I work these, I will add 1 stitch into the actual stitch, but also a stitch into the space as well. So we'll work a double crochet into that first stitch and then a double crochet into the chain space. And again in the stitch, and then into the chain space. So it looks like this. So double crochet into the stitch, into the chain space, into the stitch, into the chain space, I'll do it a little bit slowly. So I'm yarning over, inserting, yarning over, completing that double crochet, yarning over it straight into the chain space and completing the double crochet. So we'll complete that process all the way along. And then at the very end I like to even things up, so you'll see where I've popped a stitch into the chain space there. I'll just add 1 into the top of the chain free from the last row. Keeps things nice and neat. Now we're going to add a row of roses. So after I completed 1 foundation row, I just went back and completed another just to give some space. But usually, as you can see, I only give the 1. But for the purpose of the video, I'm just going to give a bit more space so you can see what I'm doing. So I've got my rose colour. As you can see, I'm in a red mood. It's a festive time of year. So we're going to attach the colour to the end with a single crochet, like so. and we'll single crochet for 4 stitches, but it depends on how far apart you want your roses to be, but for this I'll just do 4. And here is where I'll build my first rosebud. So the rosebud is big as you want it to be. It's something you can make super tiny or big. It depends on the yarn you're using, of course, the hook, but also the amount of chains you start with. For these roses, I chain a 12, and then for these ones, I chained 9. So you can see the size difference a little bit. I also used a 4mm hook on these, and this I will make all my socks with 3.5mm. So for this one, we'll chain 12. So we have our chain 12, and we're going to double crochet into the 3rd chain from the hook, like so, and we'll complete another 2 double crochets into that same chain. Now what we'll need to do is complete 3 double crochets into every single one of these chains along. And then we chain 3 and we slip stitch in the very last chain. Now I like to remove my hook at this point. Also, this would be the front of the work, so this is where it gets a bit tricky, but once you know how, it's super easy. So keep your loop out of the way, and we need to roll up our little rosebud to make a flower rather than a wiggly worm. So there we go, you can see it here. And then turn to the back of it, and this is the back of the rose, and here's the loop. Pop your hook back on, carefully keeping your rose rolled still. And I secure the rose by placing my hook all the way through all of those layers that you've rolled up and completing a single crochet, chain 1. I go back in, but in the opposite direction. So again, this is the view from the front, so you are literally going through all of those layers like so, grabbing the yarn. And there we go, so it's secure. It's got 2 stitches crisscrossing through all of those layers, keeping it nice and tight. And what we don't want is to just continue working after this, because the rows will be really floppy. I like them secure against the blankets or project, whatever it's being used for. So my little trick, telling you all my hints and tips now, is I twist the rows as far as I can, and it creates the quite tight finish between here, because it twists everything back up. Grab your loop again. Get rid of all your yarn ends. So the first one is always the hardest, because you've got all these working ends to get rid of. And then what we'll do to secure this rose down is we'll single crochet into the next stitch. And there we have a rose. So I'll single crochet along a little, and then we'll make another one. So I've gone 6 there. So we chain 12, three single crochet into the third stitch from the hook, and then 3 double crochet, whoops, I said single crochet, definitely double crochets, 3 double crochets into each chain along to the end. So we have got our little spiral again, pulling up a big loop, and I'm going to roll this into a rosebud. So there we go. Turning it to the back. Grabbing my loop. And then I'm inserting the hook to go through all of these layers. Give it a wiggle if it's tough to get through. Working a single crochet, chaining 1, going back in the opposite direction through all of those layers again. Working a single crochet, pulling up that loop. And then to keep it nice and tight against your work, I'm going to twizzle it around. Usually 3 or 4 turns works just fine. You don't want it to be too much because it will distort your pattern. No one likes blocking things. And then we secure by completing a stitch. So I'm just going to work all the way to the end so I can show you the ruffles next. So we have 2 roses. I could have fit another, but we'll work with 2 for now. Okay, now we're going to work our ruffles back over these posts. So I usually save this as the last thing to do on a project, but it depends on what you feel like doing. You can work them as long as you've got a few rows above just to hold everything securely. You should be able to make your ruffles no problem. So we'll start with the first post. It's tricky, but like I say, it's easy when you know. So here I am, I'm showing you. So we're going to work double crochet ones. So just imagine this is it's almost like a chain 3 space. So we're going to chain 3 ourselves for that first build to a double crochet. Then we're going to work 5 double crochets into this space. 5, okay. Then we turn our work because we want to work into the next one here. We don't chain or anything, we simply just start working 5 double crochets again. Next time we turn and we work into this one. No chaining, simply just working the 5 double crochets into here. So that's 2, 3, 4 and 5. Ooh, 5. Turning again, it's working the one above, working a 5. So we do this all the way along. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then I always like to give them a little bit of a move around, as it were, so you get that nice wibbly wobbly ruffle. Anyway, I know that was a super fly show you all how to do this, but I hope you can see that when you give it a go, it's easier than you think. It's really effective. And yeah, super, super cute. So if you do make any little blankets, projects or anything with these two little techniques, pop me a tag. I love seeing all of your work. Or if you need any help, as usual, just message me. Bye.